What is going on, everybody, and welcome to today's tutorial video where I'm going to be showing you how to use Editor GUI layout label fields in your custom editor window in Unity. Now, label fields are pretty straightforward. Basically, they allow us to display some kind of text in our custom editor window. And although these fields aren't directly editable by our end user, they can still be used to show real-time information in our game. So in today's example, I'm going to be showing you how we can get the real-time values for the horizontal and vertical input axes. Now, I recently made a video talking about some of the basics of creating editor windows, and label fields were one of the things that I talked about. However, in this video, I'm going to be going a little bit deeper into label fields, and I'm going to be showing you some of the custom configurations that we can do with label fields specifically. So if you found this video helpful and you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel where I'm going to be going into more depth on some of these editor GUI layout elements. Of course, if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those down in the comments section below. Also, if you'd like to download the project files featured in this video, feel free to click the link in the description to download those. And with that, let's jump right on into the tutorial. Okay, so here we are over in Unity, and as you can see, I have just this simple little scene set up. So first things first is we're going to go ahead and open our custom editor window. So I have that programmed to go up into this Tools tab, and it's called Label Field. So we'll go ahead and open that up. And as you can see, we have this nice little window here that we can drag around wherever we want. And if we want, we could even clip it into something like this. But for the purposes of this video, we'll just go ahead and leave it floating here. And so in the scene, as you can see, I've created these little circle images here. And so that's just going to give you a nice visual representation of where I'm moving the stick on my controller. And we can watch these horizontal and vertical values update. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be going over how this input visualizer works, but it of course will be included in the Unity asset packages, which includes all the resources shown in this tutorial video. And once again, you can just download that using the link in the description. So let's go ahead and enter play mode here. So when I just go ahead and move the left stick upwards all the way up to the top, as you can see, my vertical input is 1 and the horizontal input is at 0. If I go ahead and release, the vertical and horizontal input both reset to 0. Now if I move the stick all the way to the right, you'll see the horizontal input is at 1 and to the left it's at -1. And so of course I can move this around to any kind of little in-between value, and so you can see that the horizontal and vertical inputs are just kind of being updated in real time here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can get a nice printout of these input fields here using this little label field tool that I've created. So for this tutorial, I've made this label field tool script, which sits in the editor folder. And as always, we want to make sure these custom editor scripts are sitting in this editor folder, so we don't get any errors when we try to make a build of our game. So here we are in the label field tools script, and as always with these, we want to make sure that we're using the Unity editor and Unity engine libraries, so we have access to all the proper functions. Of course, we're going to be inheriting from editor window and not mono behavior. And then we need to have a function that actually opens the window. So I have this public static void function called show window, and it is a menu item listed under tools and label fields. So that's how we can open the window in Unity. Now, all the magic of the script happens within this onGUI function here. So the first thing that we're going to do is kind of have a little bit of a heading. So we're going to do the editor GUI layout.label field, and we're going to actually pass in what we want this label to be, which in this case is current input. And because it's kind of a heading, we want it to stand out a little bit more. So we're going to do editor styles.bold label, and this basically just changes the text to a bold text instead of just the standard text. After that, we're just going to give ourselves a little bit of space by doing editor GUI layout.space to kind of separate between the heading and the actual values. And then below that, here's where we're actually going to be displaying our values to the screen. So for these label fields, one of the options is we can actually pass in 2 values to the label field. And that's really nice for us to have, so we can kind of have like a label that's on the left side and then a label that's on the right side. The label that's on the left side, this is usually going to be the name of the value that you're displaying, and then the label on the right is going to be the actual value itself. And another nice feature of this is that it kind of separates everything out, so everything is kind of all in line. So as you can see when you're looking at the custom editor window that I have set up, the vertical and horizontal input labels, of course those are lined up all the way to the left, And even though the text isn't the same length on both of those, the actual vertical and horizontal input values, those are also going to be lined up as well. So it just makes everything look a little nicer and cleaner. So back to how we actually implement that. Again, we're just going to do an editor GUI layout.label field, and then we're going to pass in our first label, which is vertical input. Again, this is just the name of the value that we're going to be displaying. And then for the second label, we're going to pass in the raw data. So this is input.getAxis vertical, and we're going to want to cast this to a string because this function takes in 2 string variables. And we're just going to do the exact same thing for horizontal. So editor GUI layout.label field, passing in the label of horizontal input, and then passing in the raw data that we're getting from our input.getAxis function, of course, casting that to a string as well. And the last thing that we have to make sure we do, and this is extremely key if we want to be updating values in our label fields, is just type in this.repaint. So when this repaint function is called, it just redraws our window and it's going to update any values that we've set, such as the vertical and horizontal axes in this function here. If we didn't do that, then the horizontal and vertical values would always be displaying as 0. And so once again, I can just go ahead and demonstrate this. As you can see, we just have the bold label that says current input, the vertical input and horizontal input, then a space separating it from the vertical and horizontal input values. And as you can see, everything is lined up very nicely here. So when we start moving the stick around, we can see that our values actually update. So anyways, that's going to wrap up this tutorial video that was sort of a deep dive into the editor GUI layout label fields. Make sure you download the assets for this project using the link down in the description below, so that way you can kind of play around with this yourself. And of course, if you found this video helpful and you learned something, make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be doing a lot more of these kind of deeper dives into the simple little things for the custom editor windows. And I'll be going into more advanced topics, talking about how to create awesome development tools in Unity. Of course, if you have any questions for me or suggestions for future videos, feel free to drop those down in the comments section below. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.